notice the destructive effect that it has on Julie. She doesn't trust any of our institutions, all right, but she does trust Dennis Prager. Now, I say apply equal levels of skepticism to Dennis Prager and to doctors and to Yale and to Harvard.
Too, but especially doctors, because I always thought they have an especially high moral obligation to not cause harm. That has been so deeply upsetting. And I have to tell you, for a time, I didn't really believe it. I didn't really believe that doctors were wreaking this much havoc. I thought, oh, maybe they just truly believe that the COVID vaccine is effective, or maybe they truly believe that lockdowns are warranted. No, it's been a real fall from grace for me. I have to tell you, I look around now in society, and I wonder who can I trust?
My heart breaks for you.
Well, come on, who does she trust? All right. She trusts Dennis Prager. And is that really such a great choice? Right? Dennis Prager is not the worst person around. He's not the best. He's, another bozo on the bus. He's got some strong points and some weak points. But he's having a destructive effect, on her ability to assess what is right and wrong, true and false.
Your generation.
I have to tell you, I
trusted every institution when I was your age.
I don't trust anything.
And you're right. You're right not to.
Well, what scares me...
Right. She says, I don't trust anything. You're right not to, right? Don't trust anybody or anything but me. Right. So Dennis Prager says he's always been faithful to his wife, and I absolutely believe him. But this is how, men of a lower moral quality that Dennis Prager operate. I mean, when you try to groom a woman or groom followers to your cult, you tell them, you just start banging down all the other sources of comfort and meaning and purpose and information in there. Like, oh, you can't trust your parents. You can't trust your family. You can't trust your boss. You can't trust doctors. You can't trust accountants. You can't trust lawyers. Right? And it soon gets down to, you can only trust me. Now take off your clothes. Now, this is not what Dennis Prager is doing. Dennis Prager is a very holy man. He would not engage this way. But this is a classic thing that men in particular do. Right? When you see a mark, right, you try to separate that mark from all her natural defenses, and then say, I will protect you. Now give me a blowjob. I mean, this is how men operate. So if you can isolate people, all right, then you render them defenseless, and you can be much more predatory, sexually, financially, emotionally. Like, you can't trust the rabbis. You can't trust the priests, the ministers. You can't trust psychologists. You can't trust therapists. They've all been corrupted by the left, right? But I will protect you.
And I talked to you about this on the phone the other day, is that people my age, like...
Remember what you were about to say.
Okay.
Let's declare a pandemic amnesty. Just 2 days ago, The Atlantic. We need to forgive one another for what we did and said when we were in the dark about COVID.
Okay, so gurus and pundits don't want people to forgive each other. What would happen if people started forgiving each other? Right, they'd have much less need, enthusiasm, drive, passion to listen to pundits like Dennis Prager. Like, if we walked around recognizing the humanity in other people on the right, on the left, in the center, people are apolitical, people are super political, super religious, totally secular, gay, straight. If we just, recognize the humanity of people, recognize most people are trying to do the best they can, and forgiveness is our natural state, right? When we let go of the wounds of being able to let go of the wounds of the past. Do you think that I would have been vulnerable to falling into the Dennis Prager cult? No, I would never have fallen so hard for the Dennis Prager cult if I'd been able to forgive. But because I was not in a healthy place, because I had high anxiety and depression and struggling with real world relationships, I developed this, parasocial, ideation and fixation with Dennis Prager, and this virtual father figure was going to be my guide. So once you start forgiving people, once you start letting go of the wounds of the past, you're going to have much less need, much less of a fixation, much less of, an intense drive to tune into what some pundit or guru is going to say. Right, your need for gurus and pundits goes way down when you implement into your life some sort of system or practice that allows you to let go of your old wounds, and then forgiveness comes naturally when you recognize that other people are as flawed and fallible as you are.
I wasn't in the dark about COVID. In April 2020, I headlined, tweeted, and wrote a column and broadcast. It's the greatest.
Right, this is what pundits do all the time. Like, I saw these things, way before anyone else. Like, I was ahead of the game. Right, I was not some loser, and they don't tell you all the things they got wrong. All right, they don't put this in context. This is just like classic, self-aggrandizement.
Stake in human history.
Mm-hmm.
I said that it was vile what was being done to children. It was cruelty, sadism, not allowing people to be with dying relatives. I wasn't in the dark, and I'm not a doctor.
Well, how about what came out a few days ago about the Department of Homeland Security working alongside Silicon Valley to
So Dennis is not in the dark, guys. You can trust Dennis. Like everyone else is in the dark, but not Dennis. You can't trust anyone else but Dennis.
Shadow ban and suppress quote unquote misinformation.
That's
so those people shouldn't be held accountable. They should get amnesty.
Exactly.
So you were saying that
right. See, if you forgive, recognize that people are trying to do the best they can. Right. That the Twitter files are a little more complicated than we've been sold. That these grievance stories, either on the right or the left, are much more complicated.